This video contains no spoilers for The Last of Us Part 2, nor do I discuss the leaks or reception of the leaks. I'm just as excited for Part 2 as everybody else is, and so this video will focus solely on Part 1. Of course, expect spoilers for the entirety of Part 1 though. Naughty Dog is a studio revered by the gaming industry for their care, passion, and attention to detail in every product they make, pushing the envelope for what can be created within a linear, story-driven experience. It's been 7 years since The Last of Us was released, and we're very closely closing in on the sequel, Part 2, to the story of Joel and Ellie. For this, I wanted to dive back into The Last of Us, take that journey back into the roller coaster ride of action, emotion, and depth that this game so wonderfully portrays. If you've seen any of my retrospectives before, this one may differ slightly. I've taken somewhat of a step back from content creation, and I didn't really want to push myself when making this, but that being said, don't expect that I won't do this game justice. But let us not tarry any longer. Join me in revisiting the unforgettable experience of The Last of Us.
Tommy, listen to me. He is the contractor. He's the contractor, okay? I can't lose this job. I understand. Let's talk about this in the morning, okay? We'll talk about it in the morning. All right, good night.
Hey.
Scoot.
Monday at work, huh?
The Last of Us establishes its core narrative element right as we begin. Character. Naughty Dog nails characters every single time. That's the heart of their experiences, what drives the story forward. This game has possibly the best opening to a story I've ever experienced. Within 20 to 25 minutes, we not only understand the world, the protagonists, the characters, we're attached to them. They achieve so much in such a short space of time, and it's masterful, but the reason it works is due to the little things, and that's their bread and butter. From the opening scene showing the relationship between a father and his daughter, Joel and Sarah.
Here.
What's this?
Your birthday? You kept complaining about your broken watch. So I figured, you know. You like it?
Honey, it's
What?
nice, but I think it's stuck. It's not.
What? No. Oh, ha ha.
Where did you get the money for this?
Drugs. I sell hardcore drugs.
Oh, good. You started helping out with the mortgage then.
Yeah, you wish.
Showing their type of relationship, clearly they both care very much for each other, with Sarah's mother not being in the picture for whatever reason. They seem to just have each other as family. The jokes they throw at each other and the care that Joel shows as he tucks her into bed.
Good night, baby girl.
We care for these people because they feel like real, genuine people, and it's very human to feel empathy for that. Adding to this, the multitude of things we can find in Sarah's bedroom when she's woken up by her Uncle Tommy, the pictures on the walls, the birthday card she forgot to give to her dad, her room and its details give us insight into who Sarah is and what she's like. We understand these characters and we relate to them, given just a window into their life for brief moments, but it's so real and so human, from the writing to the performances, that we connect almost instantly to their life and their situation, so that when shit eventually hits the fan, we're with them, we care, and there are genuine stakes. It's not just exposition to give backstory and explain the world, it's genuine character building, and we follow these people who we care about despite having only just met them. We feel the same fear they feel as the world ends around them. As they discover what's happening at the same time, we do. But the zombie apocalypse and the end of the world is never framed as what's central. The characters always are. The drama that comes from what they decide to do, whether it's leaving a stranded family because the risk is too great, or navigating a town that's in total disarray, the central focus is on character and their decisions for survival rather than on what happens next in the zombie zombie apocalypse. And that's step one for establishing what this game is all about. And of course, the moment that sets the game in motion, sets the tone, sets the direction, and sets up Joel as a character, wraps up our prologue in such a magnificently strong way.
Please don't. Oh no. Sarah. Move your hands, baby. I know, baby, I know.
The performances in this scene from both Troy Baker and Hannah Hayes are phenomenal. It's just so real. The panic we see from Joel as his daughter dies in his arms is just... I don't think there are proper words to describe and analyze a scene this raw and real. It's so well directed and so well written and composed that it feels the complete opposite. It feels natural and authentic and real. And that sets the stage for The Last of Us.
No. 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 Please. 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 Please don't. Please. Yeah.
20 years later, the year 2033, Joel is older, he's jaded, he's broken in a sense. You see continuously this cynical nature, and that begins his character arc. Endure and survive. By the end of this game, Joel is a different person to how the game begins, and how he gets there is a complex series of events that allow him to grow as a person alongside Ellie, and not just that, but a commentary on human nature itself when presented with new information and difficult choices, but we'll get to that. The introduction to this world allows us to familiarize ourselves with Joel's new life and the way the world is now, without being heavy on exposition. We meet his friend Tess, who clearly he's known for a while. They don't need to tell us that, they show us that in their interactions, their back and forths. Clearly they have a complicated relationship.
So I'll take one guess. The whole deal went south and the client made off with our pills. Is that about right?
Deal went off without a hitch. Enough ration cards to last us a couple of months, easy.
You want to explain this?
I was on my way back here and I got jumped by these two assholes, all right? And yeah, they got a few good hits in, but... Look, I managed.
Give me that. Are these assholes still with us?
That's funny.
We are also introduced to the politics of the world, if that's the word you want to use, the people and groups they have to deal with. Robert, who was meant to be selling guns to Joel and Tess, but instead sold them to the Fireflies. The Fireflies, a militia group that fights back against the military oppression. And of course, the military. Factions and groups that control and fight for power in this torn world. The game, however, doesn't explain that up front. It allows the player to figure it out through natural dialogue and world exploration. Whilst walking through this quarantine zone, we see the military oppression, followed by an attack from the Fireflies. We then move through plenty of different areas that are still to this day rendered in superb detail. Despite the graphics looking dated by 2020 standards, the walls, the furniture in these buildings bring this tattered and worn out world to life, making everything feel as though it's a time capsule from when everything just froze in 2013. And the details Naughty Dog put into making these rooms and environments feel lived in makes exploration a joy and incredibly rewarding. The opening expedition for Joel and Tess to reach Robert takes us through various buildings, the overgrown outdoors, the underground of this region, and spore-infested areas where the undead congregate, also allowing us to learn key gameplay elements in team-based puzzles, of which get more complex as the game progresses, the exploration of rooms and doors to discover more items for crafting and resources to use for survival, the back and forth dialogue between characters during downtime, and the stealth and combat aspects, of which we have a lot. I've seen a lot of people criticize the pacing of this game in terms of narrative and gameplay, the balancing of downtime and action-oriented moments. I feel, however, after a replay and after reflection, this game does a very good job of balancing the two. Sure, we could do with more moments where Joel and Ellie are just on their own without any clickers or enemy factions, just solving puzzles and talking. But I think the game offers a decent amount of downtime, especially in the latter portions, with action usually being rather quick and unique each time. New scenarios face the two characters and they have to adapt. The level design makes stealth segments a joy rather than a chore, and it makes it fun to actually utilize the tools at your disposal to take down the enemies enemies and move to the next area. There are a few times where it suffers from Uncharted 1 syndrome, in which you'll be fighting waves and waves of enemies without much substance, or a stealth segment after a stealth segment without much narrative reward, but I feel these are few and far between. Most of the game is balanced incredibly well, and the action set pieces are unique enough that you feel engaged with them rather than just pushing through boring shooting galleries. Back to the story, however, the introduction of Ellie is where I feel the game really kicks off in a direction that is incredibly compelling. This girl has so much tenacity and life that contrasts directly with Joel and his jaded, cynical view of the world, and her introduction establishes her as a character with a lot of fire.
You don't have
The fuck away from her!
Hey! Let her go.
You're recruiting kind of young, aren't you?
She's not one of mine.
Oh, shit. What happened?
Don't worry, this is fixable. I want Joel to watch over her.
Whoa, I don't think that's
Bullshit,
the
I'm not
best
going
Ellie.
with him. How do you know them?
I was close with his brother Tommy. Said if I was ever in a jam, I could rely on him.
Was that before or after he left your little militia group?
He left you too.
The two are instantly paired up, and this sets in motion what is one of the greatest character pairings of all time. Their growth and development, their back and forth dialogue starts right here, and it doesn't stop until the game ends. Both of these characters seem closed off from each other. Joel not wanting to reopen old wounds, keeping to himself, and Ellie not wanting to open up because if she does, she's afraid that she'll just have to move on again. They're a duality of distrust and heartbreak, and in the end, that ties them both together.
Your watch is broken.
The scene directly following this is the first scene in which Joel and Ellie both open up and talk. Quickly that's redirected as Joel wants to know what the Fireflies want with this girl.
I hate bad dreams.
Yeah, me too.
Can't be any worse out there. Can it?
What on earth do the Fireflies want with you?
Hey. Sorry it took so long.
Clearly realizing he's letting this girl in and filling a hole that was created by his loss 20 years ago. Also, let's just take some time to appreciate this rain on these windows. It really pleases me. More games need rain this immersive. I want a game actually centered around being indoors on a stormy night. Moving on to the outside though, the true plot of the game kicks into motion. Why we're smuggling this girl, why she's so important. She's immune to the virus.
Jesus Christ. Marlene set us up? Why the hell are we smuggling an infected girl?
I'm not infected.
No? Just lying?
I can explain.
You better explain fast.
Look at this.
I don't care how you got infected.
It's 3 weeks old.
No, everyone turns within 2 days, so you stop bullshitting.
It's 3 weeks. I swear. Why would she set you up?
This is where we truly understand where this game is heading and why we're doing what we're doing. Without time to breathe though, and no time to contemplate the information we've learned, we have to fight to survive and push on to safer territory with the military looking for us. This sends us into another stealth segment. I mean, it's possible to not use stealth here, but it's pretty clear that that's the best way to play this section of the game. Most scenarios like this can be tackled with force or stealth, and are set up to facilitate either. I found myself doing bits of both as I played the game. Sometimes it was easier to sneak by people or take them out that way, but other times I felt I was equipped enough to head straight into a fight. Plus, switching up how you play makes these encounters a lot more entertaining to tackle. Once reaching the other side, our characters have a chance to consider their options and plan the next move. With Joel not wanting any part of this, but Tess hopeful that this girl can be the key to finding the cure. And also suggesting subtly that there's another reason that Joel doesn't want to go through with this.
Do I need to remind you what is out there?
I get it.
Continuing to raise the idea that Joel isn't ready to potentially act as a father figure to a kid again. He wants to avoid it because Ellie reminds him of Sarah, and that's very clear from his standoffish attitude towards her so far. But we also see as the game progresses his natural instinct to look after and help her shine, having to keep himself in check and remain this cold, selfish individual despite his instinct leading him another way. The next set piece introduces clickers for the first time. Infected people who have been infected for so long they've lost the ability to see and navigate with sound, like bats. They click to determine where you are and what's around them, making stealth involving clickers incredibly dangerous. especially since you can't let them get the upper hand even once, or you're dead, meaning your shots need to count and your footsteps need to be light. Not to mention they're such an iconic enemy in video games, and it's always so cool seeing them introduced for the first time in the first game. This is one of the more gameplay heavy segments of the game, a long period of sneaking around skyscrapers and the underground, solving minor puzzles and passing through stealth encounters with infected to finally get closer to your destination. And this is something that this game does a lot. It gives you an end goal for the current section you're in. We have to reach the Capitol building here. We can see the building in the distance at several different points, and we can see ourselves slowly getting closer. It feels like a proper adventure, navigating all of these areas, all of these dangers, and slowly closing in on our goal, traversing so many different places and dealing with so many problems along the way to finally reach a moment of levity before continuing onto your next main challenge or obstacle. It gives this sense of genuine progression, and I think the changing in weather and time of day as you progress really helps with this. You get to see Joel and Ellie's entire journey chapter by chapter. Of course, there are time jumps and areas we don't see, but for each segment we get to see their entire journey to the current location, whether that be the Capitol building here, the school building later on to find car parts, or the radio tower with Sam and Henry. We get to take this journey ourselves, and it feels like a huge undertaking when you start out, and I really like that feeling of genuine and authentic progression through a space.
So is that everything you hoped for?
Jury's still out. But man, can't deny that view.
Finally turning the corner and seeing the Capitol building feels like mission complete. Everything we've been through, the areas we've traversed, all of it is over and we've made it. Genuinely gives you this sense of satisfaction until we realize this is only the beginning.
No. No, no, no.
What happens now?
The Fireflies are dead. Tess scrambles to find notes, her panic is increasing, the reason being she's infected.
Holy shit. She's infected.
Joel,
Let me see.
I didn't mean for this.
Show it to me. Oh, Christ.
Oops, right?
The performances in this scene are incredible, and although Tess is a character I didn't necessarily care for as much as all of the others in the game, it was the performances of the actors involved, along with the music and the directing, that allowed me to feel something as Tess gave her life so Joel and Ellie could continue and finish the mission. So now we have our next goal, to get Ellie to Joel's brother Tommy so we can take her to the Fireflies safely. This is one of the longest stretches of the game, and looking back, maybe the weakest portion. I do feel like the game picks up and gets better the more it continues, and that could be because location and scenery change a lot more frequently later on, whereas early on for the first 5 to 10 hours we're seeing the same sort of areas, and maybe that gets tired. I'm not trying to argue this portion of the game is in any way bad, more so this is probably the weakest part if I had to rank it. However, there is a lot of development to be had for our main characters, which is sort of the point. From reflection on Ellie's condition...
How the hell are you breathing in this stuff?
I wasn't lying to you.
to coming to terms with Tess's fate...
Hey, look, about Tess... I don't even know what
Here's how this thing's gonna play out. You don't bring up Tess. Ever. Matter of fact, we just keep our histories to ourselves.
Ellie trying to learn how to whistle.
Are you alright?
I'm trying to learn how to whistle.
You don't know how to whistle.
Well, does it sound like I know how to whistle?
The smaller moments within this town they're traversing.
Would you play this before?
No. But I had a friend that knew everything about this game. Apparently, there's this character called Angel Knives who'd... what was it? She'd punch a hole through your stomach before kicking your head off.
I was never a big fan of these things.
I wish I could play it.
And backstory to teach us and Ellie simultaneously.
Mandatory evacuation. Evacuate to where?
What do you think? Quarantine zone. See, some places got a heads up before the infection showed up. Most didn't.
Man, must be hard. Just leaving all your stuff behind like that.
That ain't the hard part.
It pads out not just the relationship between Joel and Ellie, but also the journey we're on with them, giving us moments that breathe life into this world that has been long dead and abandoned. And with that, we get to see more into Joel and who he is, and Ellie allows for that to happen. We also see more areas of this world that feel just as detailed as before. I mean, the leather on this couch holds up well. It looks really nice, Jesus Christ. Along your travels, you also find these notes from people who left their houses during the outbreak decades ago. And it's this window into other lives. Sometimes Joel and Ellie will comment on these findings, and I like that. It makes it feel much more alive. And then we run into Bill, an old friend of Joel's from their time smuggling together. And he owes Joel a few favors for undisclosed reasons. Regardless, our minor goal now is to get the parts to restore a car to working condition to allow Joel and Ellie to reach Tommy's much quicker. After finding many of his traps lying around, as well as discovering a bow and arrow, a weapon which I quite like a lot, we're thrown into this pretty nice set piece as we're hung upside down as Ellie tries to cut the rope hanging us whilst the infected swarm in from the outside. It's high energy, it's tense, and it's unique, once again increasing the trust relationship between Joel and Ellie. Bill swoops in to save us, we run and escape, and then things get pretty aggressive pretty quickly.
Thanks for the heroics and all. Ellie. Hey, what are you... Joel?
Bill!
What are you doing?
Bill!
Let me go.
Turn around and get on your knees.
Just calm down a second.
Turn around
All right.
and get on your knees. Don't test me.
Just take it easy.
Goody bites. Oh. Ow! Stop! Son of a bitch!
By the looks of it, you could lose some of that food.
Listen to me, you little shit.
No, fuck you! You handcuffed me!
I need you to shut up.
With everything settled down, we have the task to head to the high school to gather some gear so Bill can put together the car. Over the course of the next few encounters, we head through more of the dilapidated buildings, we see more of Bill's traps and the way he lives out here, as well as getting into some close calls with the infected. All I feel are well-paced and different, separated by pieces of dialogue to keep everything rolling and engaging the player with the story and set piece at the same time. Once reaching Bill's hideout across town and getting some new equipment and weapons such as the shotgun and nail bomb, I use the crafting bench to improve some of the weapons, a system that I feel is well paced across the game, and I like how it's not really possible to upgrade every single piece of equipment 100%. You have to prioritize weapons you use and things that enhance your playstyle, since there are only limited resources in the whole game. We stealth across an old suburb until we reach the high school where there's a decent amount of infected. Again, moving across this world feels so dynamic and real because you genuinely make your way from one area to another in real time, which makes your journey feel huge and lengthy, like you're actually navigating a real world space, much more engaging than it would be in an open world where you can get from A to B in a heartbeat. Once in the school, the parts are missing and it quickly becomes a fight for our lives to escape the building and figure out a new plan. We're also introduced to a new infected type here, the Bloater, a fucking bitch of an enemy who throws poisonous gas at you and refuses to die no matter how many times I shoot the motherfucker. I'm serious, I died a stupid amount of times here, and I'm ashamed of it because it shouldn't have been this difficult, but I had to mention the trouble I went through during this fight. After finally getting out, we reach a house where Bill's partner Frank had hanged himself before he turned into one of the infected. It's quite a dark scene, and you can see some of Bill's inner emotions begin to come through, even just slightly. You can also find a note from Frank where shit's all over Bill, so there's that, and I like how it pads out their relationship. Not just that, but Frank also stole the parts and fixed up the car, lucky for us. So now we have a way out of here. After finally getting the car started in a pretty heated segment, we're on the road, saying goodbye to Bill and making our way to Tommy's. This car ride is one of my favourite moments in the story. Joel finally opens up and has a moment of levity. After everything they've been through, it's undeniable that Joel and Ellie have bonded. From the comic book she stole...
Okay, I know it doesn't look like it, but this here is not a bad read. Only one problem. Right there. To be continued. I hate cliffhangers.
Where did you get that?
Back at Bill's. I mean, all this stuff was just lying there.
What else did you get?
To the music she hands Joel.
Here. This make you all nostalgic?
You know, that is actually before my time. That is a winner, though.
And the way Ellie fucks with Joel while looking at a porn magazine she stole from Bill.
Light on the reading, but it's got some interesting photos.
Now, Ellie, that ain't for kids.
Whoa! How the hell would he even walk around with that thing?
Get rid of that.
Well, hold your horses. I want to see what all the fuss is about. Oh, why are these all stuck together? I'm just fucking with you. Bye-bye, dude.
You can see that Joel is incredibly protective of her even this early on, instinctively almost, whilst she's also become far more comfortable with him playing around and laughing. The two have become a lot closer, and they're a lot more tolerant of each other.
Why don't you try to get some sleep? All right.
I'm not even tired.
The father-daughter relationship begins to shine through, and it's so real and authentic to watch, and it feels so nice to see Joel feel that sense of family again, even if at this stage, it's only brief. Of course, with this being The Last of Us, the calm can't remain for long, and we're thrown right into yet another battleground. Over the course of this segment, we're trying to reach a big old yellow bridge in the distance, which should leave us home free to make our way to Tommy's. Also, Ellie finally learns how to whistle here, and it's a nice little character moment that was set up hours ago and comes back again now.
I'm whistling.
Oh, good. Something else you can drive me crazy with.
That's awesome.
It's just those little things that keep the game and the narrative flowing and make it enjoyable to journey with these characters who feel like real people with actual development and actual feelings. As we navigate through this city, we engage into more stealth and combat scenarios, far more complex than before, navigating a library with 2 levels that's crawling with enemies, followed by the unforgettable hotel segment. It's a well put together stealth scenario, however it goes on forever. I have to say I found myself getting lost in these identical hallways and rooms. And I get it, hotels look like this, but it's not fun to play. I don't know if that's unreasonable to say, but I felt like this portion of the game was just very boring, with little dialogue and mostly the same brown hallways with stealth takedowns every couple of seconds. However, this is followed by a moment where Joel and Ellie are split up and Joel has to navigate a flooded underground area, restoring power and making his way out, all while there are clickers and runners swarming the area. It's pretty tense and feels incredible when you finally finish that area and move on. A lot of the satisfaction for level design in this game is almost akin to something like Resident Evil. Maybe not quite on that level, as this is a lot more set piece and story oriented and clearly isn't as complex as a true survival horror game, but it has a lot of those elements. That means when you finally do successfully navigate an area or sneak past enemies, and you feel that rush of relief as you finally see the light from the exit or see the door close. And I think that the gameplay structure of these levels and environments is severely overlooked when people analyze this game. It's not just serviceable and it's not just fun, it's bloody fantastic. This takes us onto a very meaningful story moment for Ellie. With Joel overwhelmed and his gun not to hand, Joel is seemingly dead, before Ellie picks up the gun and kills the man drowning Joel.
I shot the hell out of that guy, huh?
Yeah, you sure did.
I feel sick.
Why didn't you just hang back like I told you to?
Well, you're glad I didn't, right?
I'm glad I didn't get my head blown off by a goddamn kid.
You know what? No. How about, hey, Ellie, I know it wasn't easy, but it was either him or me. Thanks for saving my ass. You got anything like that for me, Joel?
We gotta get going.
Lead the way.
Joel knows she's right here, but he refuses to admit it. His pride, or maybe his protective nature, stops him. Maybe it's embarrassment that he knows he needs her. It doesn't just go one way. Ellie doesn't just need Joel, Joel also needs Ellie, and she's proved herself. Joel isn't ready to open himself up to the fact that he needs someone, and he tries shutting her out again. Making our way through the rest of the hotel, we see Ellie's more distant and resentful behaviour after what Joel said translate into gameplay. She doesn't immediately help pushing the piano, she's more sluggish and has less energy. It's little things like this that make the characters feel more real. Their emotions and their state of mind affect the actual way they act during gameplay segments. Joel, after obviously some consideration, lets Ellie in and lets her help, allowing her to use the rifle to cover him whilst he goes down to clear an area, validating her and making her feel useful and helpful, which she is. From this point on, Ellie is useful in combat and can take down guys. It's a nice moment and it shows Joel is opening up to Ellie, and it shows that she really cares about him and what he thinks. Their attachment grows stronger.
Just so we're clear about back there, it was either him or me.
You're welcome.
After Joel gives Ellie her own weapon, we push on with our mission to make it to the bridge. Encountering along the way an armored truck with a mounted turret, these men are hunting down survivors and mercilessly killing them. Just another one of the factions in the game that are armed, dangerous, and in many numbers. After stealthing through more treacherous environments, avoiding traps from the hunters, and taking down men to make our way through, Joel and Ellie are ambushed by the armored truck, and have to make a quick getaway, thrusting us into a chase set piece, navigating alleyways, rooftops, and abandoned apartment buildings to finally get out of sight and a sense of safety, until we meet two new characters.
Joel, stop! Look!
Leave him alone.
Easy, son. Just take it easy.
It's all right. They're not the bad guys. Lower the gun. Man, you hit hard.
Well, I was trying to kill you.
Yeah, I thought you were one of them, too. Then I saw you. If you haven't noticed, they don't keep kids around. Survival of the fittest.
You're bleeding.
It's just nothing. I'm Henry. This is Sam. I think I caught your name was Joel.
Ellie.
How many are with you?
They're all dead.
Hey, we don't know that.
Henry and Sam, two brothers in the same position as us, lost in this city being hunted by a dangerous group. This portion of the game is really new and interesting, as for the most part, we've been alone. Joining up with these two guys adds some much needed optimism and shakes things up a bit. We also get this nice moment where Sam tries to take a toy from an old shop, but Henry won't allow him to steal things that he doesn't need, giving us an insight into their morality. In a world full of dangerous people, they seem to be good guys. Now, this only happens when you aren't looking, but you can actually see Ellie pick up the toy to give to Sam later. You have to quickly turn back after your back is turned and you'll see her pick up the toy from the ground, which later comes up in a cutscene. It's so cool because they didn't need to add such a tiny detail, but they did. They could have just assumed players would take no notice and then later in a cutscene say that Ellie took it. It wouldn't really matter, but they went to the effort of adding that small detail, and it's those things that really bring the game to life. We reach their hideout and formulate a plan to pass through the checkpoint at night when there are less men guarding it, which begins a nice little stealth segment that I entirely botched, but that's to be expected, I suppose, since I'm terrible at games, clearly. But this then propels us into another chase set piece from the armored truck that's now on our tail. Henry, wanting to save his brother as his priority, leaves Joel when the ladder breaks, giving us an insight into the kind of man that Henry is. It makes sense since his little brother's life is what he cares about most, and that he had to save Sam in that moment. Ellie, being loyal, jumps back down to Joel's side, and we push on, scrambling to escape from the truck, reaching the edge of the bridge that's been completely blown out. This is the climax of the chase. As Ellie jumps down into the rapid waters of the river below, Joel does the same because he has no choice but to save her. And this choice doesn't exactly come logically. It comes again out of Joel's instinct to protect Ellie, showing that he cares about her. And Ellie, showing little reluctance to jump, shows her trust in Joel. Another moment that brings the pair closer together.
Henry! He's awake!
Hey, you. We're alive. Okay.
See? What'd I tell you, huh? He's good. Everything's fine.
You know, Sam's the one who spotted you. You guys are taking quite a bit of water.
What's wrong with you? Henry! Get back, son!
Hey. He's pissed, but he's not gonna do anything.
You sure about that?
Stop!
Joel?
He left us to die out there.
No, you had a good chance of making it, and you did. But coming back for you meant putting him at risk. Stay back. If it was the other way around, would you have come back for us? I saved you.
Joel is angry for Henry leaving them, but he understands, gets that if it was the other way around, he likely wouldn't have risked Ellie's life. And so onwards we venture to the radio tower that Sam and Henry have been trying to reach. Making our way across the beach with Ellie remarking how she's never seen a boat before.
Whoa.
What?
First time on a boat.
Well, it's a little bit different in the water.
One step at a time.
And moving into the sewers, there's always got to be a sewer level, doesn't there? We get to see Ellie and Sam being just kids, and it's a really nice moment. Moments of levity in The Last of Us make all of it worthwhile.
Hey, Sam, stand by the post over there.
Okay.
Ready?
Okay, do it. Oh, did you see that?
Let's keep it down, buddy, okay?
There are several puzzles to navigate and enemies to contend with as we discover what happened to the people that used to live down here before. Clearly the infected dealt with them and made this a dangerous place to traverse, which adds to the tense nature, and the gameplay is pretty turbulent. We go from puzzles to moments of calm and fun to stealth segments, exploration and action set pieces as we escape from the infected. There's also a point at which our team gets separated, Henry with Ellie and Joel with Sam. This could have proved to be a moment of development with Sam and Joel, showing that perhaps Joel treats Sam as more of an adult after all of his time with Ellie, giving Sam more confidence, but it's short-lived and nothing really comes of it other than to provide the player with some fear as to how Ellie is going to be on her own without you there to help her. Finally, escaping the sewers after a lengthy segment of holding off infected feels incredibly rewarding. After being down there for so long with just the light of your torch, seeing the sunlight feels just as satisfying for the player as it does for the characters. And this brings us one step closer to the radio tower. Now this next segment is immediately another set piece. Walking through the streets of this suburban environment, we come across a few little moments, like spotting some wild dogs as well as an ice cream truck, which is a nice little mention of the world before it went to shit. I have to say, I like all of the times that Joel explains the old world to Ellie, and her reactions to particular things that we find normal. But to someone born after the end of the world, these things are such foreign concepts, and I do appreciate the way they bring these things up from time to time to see the way that Ellie takes in this information.
This thing would drive around and play real loud, creepy music, and kids would come running out to buy ice cream.
You're totally fucking with me.
Serious.
Man, you lived in a strange time.
Told you so.
As well as this scene playing darts, seeing Ellie and Sam again just being kids and enjoying themselves.
Just throw it.
Yeah.
Boosh! I am a natural.
Luck.
No, it wasn't.
That was luck.
Alright, get out of here. You're getting cocky. Here we go. Fuck!
Horrible.
Alright. That's a tie.
No. You clearly got destroyed.
How did I clearly get destroyed? That's practically a tie.
Yeah, okay.
There'll come a day where kids can just be kids again.
Let's go.
Followed by Joel's failed attempt to show his unease and the fact that it's been so long since he's done anything normal. With a sniper on them firing from the end of the road, we make our way as Joel to that final house, stealthing our way through and fighting enemies to reach the room in which the sniper is shooting from. This then gives us another new set piece structure, which has us on the sniper taking down enemies as they're coming at Ellie, Henry, and Sam, followed by finally the goddamn armored truck. Luckily, the driver is being incompetent and throwing Molotovs from the turret seat, allowing us to shoot him and set fire to everybody inside, killing them and stopping the truck in its tracks. It's an easy action set piece, but it's fun nonetheless. Sometimes it's enjoyable to just be overpowered as fuck, sitting on a sniper rifle, shooting enemies from your perch and covering other characters. It's a nice change from what the game has you used to. Obviously, this isn't all though. We have infected coming fast and they jump out at Henry and Sam, and you have to work to help them. After that, they come in their hordes. We take out as many as we can, but it's to no avail, escaping out the back to make our way to the radio tower. We get here some nice insight into what life was like before the outbreak, and these characters in general just sitting around eating what food they could find and talking like people.
That's serious. It's Tommy's birthday, and that's all he wanted to do is just rent 2 Harleys and drive cross country.
Oh, man. I could die happy if I could just ride one around the block. What was it like?
It was good. It was real good.
Good? Can you believe this guy? Come on, man, give me details. Describe it.
You know what? You two deserve a little privacy.
No, Ellie. This isn't just any regular motorcycle, okay? You get on that bad boy, you feel that engine? Nothing like it.
Oh, yeah? How would you know?
Seen it in my dreams.
Okay.
And then we get this moment where Ellie gives the toy to Sam. After opening up to him, we see more of both of these kids, where their mental states are at. Sam talks about his fears and Ellie does the same, at first being snarky as usual, but seeing Sam is genuinely unhappy, she opens up and tells him what she's truly afraid of.
Scorpions are pretty creepy. Being by myself. I'm scared of ending up alone. What about you?
Those things out there. What if the people are still inside? What if they're trapped in there without any control of their body? Scared of that happening to me.
These moments of true self-reflection and humanity add to this story and these characters so well. We learn what these characters are afraid of, we learn what makes them unique and what makes them human. They're so relatable to us, and this is one of many moments that make you feel something, make you feel closer to these people, but not all good things can last, and the scene wraps up with Sam alone pulling up his trouser leg to reveal a bite mark. He's infected. And as the player, we know this means the morning isn't going to be happy anymore. Seeing Ellie wake up, Henry cooking, and Joel chilling is even harder to watch, knowing what is going to happen with the information we learned as the audience. How heartbreaking it's going to be for Henry when he discovers what happened to his brother.
Sam! What the hell? Shit, he's turning!
That's my fucking brother!
You can see the desperation on Henry's face and the remorse and genuine guilt that Joel feels despite him not being responsible. He went through something similar with his daughter, and you can see that Joel feels so sorry for Henry and wants so desperately to help him. But in his grief, Henry's beyond helping. And in The Last of Us fashion, we end with a shockingly morbid cut to black that hits you right in the gut.
Henry, no!
Oh my god. Jackson County. Means we're close to Jackson City, right?
Should be more than a few miles.
You ready to see dear old brother?
I'm just ready to get there.
You nervous?
I don't know what I'm feeling.
Jackson County. The next area we visit is a nice change from the streets and urban environments we've been in for most of the game so far. This area feels untouched by the infected and the outbreak, as well as also showcasing some more of that sweet rain from before. The pacing of The Last of Us from this point on becomes significantly faster. Summer is easily the longest chapter of the game, establishing core gameplay, the main missions, and the relationship of Joel and Ellie, allowing for them to be put into much faster paced, more dangerous scenarios moving forward. Moving past another water puzzle to conquer the hydroelectric dam, we make our way up to the power plant and we're introduced to a new set of people, one of which being Joel's brother, Tommy.
Don't even think about reaching for your weapon. Tell the girl to drop hers now.
Ellie, do as the lady says.
Okay.
Please tell me you're lost.
Oh, we didn't know the place was occupied. We're just trying to make our way through.
Through to where?
They're all right.
But you know these people?
Know him. He's my goddamn brother.
Tommy.
Holy shit.
How you doing, baby brother?
Goddamn.
Yeah.
Let me look at you. You get fucking old.
Easy. It's going to happen to you, too.
After heading into the power plant, we get little tidbits that Ellie feels anxious. It's clear because of how she acts when Joel tells her to go with Tommy's wife to get something to eat. She doesn't want to be left alone. She trusts Joel now, and she doesn't want to let go of that attachment yet. We also get a pat of horse, which is nice. Again, moments of levity making the game feel alive. Joel is turbulent at this point. He cares for Ellie, but he also wants to do what's best for her, or what he believes is best for her. Upon going with Tommy to chat, he shows Joel something that he's kept and wanted to return. A photograph of Joel and his daughter Sarah. This is a moment that adds to Joel's confliction. He feels all that pain come rushing back, and in this moment it solidifies his instinct to push people away. At a time when Ellie is most vulnerable and anxious about the future, that's not good for her and causes a lot more issues down the line. After talking to Tommy about our issue and need for someone to take Ellie to the Fireflies, this again adds to Joel's turbulent emotions. It all stacks up and he loses it, attacking his own brother because he's mad.
But I ain't taking that girl off your hands.
This is how you gonna repay me, huh?
Repay you?
For all those goddamn years I took care of us.
Took care? That's what you call it? I got nothing but nightmares from those years.
You survived because of me!
It wasn't worth it?
I bring you the cure from mankind, and you wanna play the pissy little brother?
We ain't back in Boston. You lay your hands on me again, it won't end well for you.
The hell is that?
We're under attack.
Not much can be said after this though, as bandits have broken into their hideout and it's our job to send them packing. At this point, I did want to discuss general gunplay. It's not a simple copy and paste of Uncharted, not that it would make any sense to be, but it's far different. Cover is incredibly important here, as a few gunshots and you're dead. Different weapons have different accuracy, rates of fire, reload speeds, and of course you upgrade those weapons depending on your own playstyle. Every shot feels weighty, heavy, and when you hit a perfect headshot, boy does that feel satisfying. Gunplay doesn't feel like mindlessly mowing down waves of enemies, it feels calculated and strategic and incredibly rewarding. Even the animations of Joel being hit with gunfire feels weighty. You fall back and take damage, you don't just soak it in like most shooters. And it's things like that that make the game and all of its elements convincing and real. When you're in gunfights, you feel invested in this mini conflict, as they all feel genuinely dangerous. Your ammo matters, your health kits matter, and your equipment matters. It's genuinely very fun, and I don't think it gets old purely because of the level design and the thought that goes into every encounter. Once we take out the bandits and move on, Ellie overhears Tommy arguing with his wife about taking Ellie from Joel and finishing the mission. She questions Joel, but due to Joel being so wound up about a multitude of things I've mentioned, so emotionally torn up inside from the PTSD of losing his own daughter, along with what happened so recently with Henry and Sam, the argument with his own brother, and the confliction between wanting to protect Ellie and wanting to complete the mission, as well as his own instinct to close himself off, he takes it out on her, and she's not happy about it. Feeling alone and abandoned again, as we already know that's her biggest fear that she told Sam earlier in the story.
Do you have any idea how many men we lost here today?
What's that all about? Does that have anything to do with me?
Talk about it later.
Did he tell you where the lab is?
We'll talk about it later.
Later. Right.
One fuck up and then I turn into one of those widows, okay?
I have to do this. I don't know what else to say. I'll take that girl of yours to the Fireflies. You don't have to worry about it.
It's best this way.
Well, maybe some real good will come of this.
I need to talk to Ellie.
Say again, I didn't hear you. Joel!
Wait, what is it?
That girl of yours. She took one of our horses and rode off.
Damn it. Which way?
Come on.
Ellie being Ellie, she runs away, of course, after stealing a horse from the camp. And so we're off to find her to make sure she's safe. Horse riding is fun, it's no Red Dead, but it works, and it's a fun gameplay element that's essentially a one-off, as it's hardly reoccurring. You get to explore a lot of the nearby forest and surrounding country while looking for Ellie, along the way, taking down some guys that are hiding out in the woods, another well-designed stealth segment, only a few enemies to take down, and we're back on our way to find Ellie. Coming across what is an old farmhouse that looks visually so interesting. It's calm and relaxing whilst also being overgrown and lost to nature. It's very, very contrasting with the urban environments that we're used to. We head through the house, which is seemingly untouched, not much destruction or decay after 20 years of being abandoned. We find Ellie hiding away upstairs in a bedroom of what used to be a teenage girl. The scene that follows is one of my favourites from the game. It never fails to get tears out of me, and I think it's best that I let it play out before I continue talking anymore.
Is this really all they had to worry about? Boys? Movies? Deciding which shirt goes with which skirt? It's bizarre.
Get up. We're leaving. Come on.
And if I say no?
Do you even realize what your life means? Huh? Running off like that, putting yourself at risk? It's pretty goddamn stupid.
Well, I guess we're both disappointed with each other then.
What do you want from me?
Admit that you wanted to get rid of me the whole time.
Tommy knows this area better
Fuck
than...
that.
Well, I'm sorry. I trust him better than I trust myself.
Stop with the bullshit. What are you so afraid of? That I'm gonna end up like Sam? I can't get infected. I can take care of myself.
How many close calls have we had?
Well, we seem to be doing all right so far.
And now you'll be doing even better with Tommy.
Not her, you know.
What?
Maria told me about Sarah.
Ellie?
And
You are treading on some mighty thin ice here.
I'm sorry about your daughter, Joel. But I have lost people too.
You have no idea what loss is.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you. So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
You're right. You're not my daughter. And I sure as hell ain't your dad. And we are going our separate ways.
Get it together. We're not alone.
This moment is a deconstruction of both characters and their relationship to one another, and it's also the catalyst for building them up stronger than they were before. Ellie is upset because she thought she'd found someone who cared about her. Her biggest fear of again being left behind, get it? Is realized, and Joel isn't angry at her, he's trying to conceal how he feels. He doesn't want to let go of her, but he also can't admit that he cares about this young girl, because if he admits that, then he allows himself to feel happy, and if he loses her, the pain would be too much to bear all over again. And so you get this incredible argument between two characters that want to care about each other, but due to circumstance and the state of the world, they're actually pushing each other apart. But what this scene allows for is their deconstruction. They get to talk openly to each other. They get to let out all of these emotions that are pent up inside, whether negatively or positively, in order to rebuild themselves later. It's masterfully done, and you get this moment where Ellie brings up Sarah, and you can see Joel, with his emotions already broken down, is close to tears. And the anger he lets out at Ellie is anger at himself for how his emotions are treating him. And his final lines before Tommy bursts in, "I sure as hell ain't your dad, and we are going our separate ways," seem to break Joel as much as they do Ellie. He's trying his best to continue to keep himself distant and closed off to save himself, but you can see in his face he didn't want to say that. He's just trying to make their separation easier for both of them by refusing to let anybody in. And on top of that, we get Ellie letting out her feelings in the opposite way to Joel, explaining she understands loss. As much as he might think that he's the only one in the world to have gone through it, Ellie has lost so many people from death or infection or just leaving her, everyone except for Joel, and that means so much to her. Ellie tends to keep emotions to herself, brushing it off with swearing or joking, but in this moment we see her as vulnerable as she can be. She trusts Joel and opens herself up entirely, admitting that without Joel she would just be more scared. It's a huge character moment for Ellie because it shows that her bond with Joel has grown and she trusts him with this. Both of their handling of this situation allows for, after another stealth segment taking out some guys and riding back to camp, for Joel to have collected his thoughts, and instead of following his instinctive nature to be alone and close himself off, he changes because of Ellie and because he wants to stay with her, because he knows the two of them together are stronger than Ellie could be with any amount of armed men. You can see the look on both of their faces. They're content. Whether they live another day, week, month, year, or the rest of their lives, it doesn't matter because they're together and they need that. It's so human. You can see both of them are closer than they've ever been over the course of the game, and Joel is beginning, after this small segment, to repair himself mentally and emotionally. After 20 years of punishing himself for the death of his daughter, he's moving on, and he's helping Ellie to do the same.
You good?
I'm good.
Adios, little brother.
Give the ball to the other team?
Right, it's called turnover.
And if you clear the 10 yards, then you're back at first down?
First down, that's right.
Man, it's confusing.
You just gotta play it a couple times. It all makes sense.
At this point, Joel isn't trying anymore to be closed off and cold. The scene opens with Joel trying to explain American football to Ellie, and she's listening intently, trying to learn. This is really the first point in the game where Joel isn't trying to shrug her off, and Ellie feels cared for and happy. They both do. It's a joy as the player to see these two become so close. There are continuous little moments, as most of the exploring of the university is one big section of downtime, for Joel and Ellie to joke with each other and just enjoy each other's company. There's the joke about the name of the horse, Joel lightheartedly poking fun.
What kind of name is anyways?
Not my fault you forgot to ask Tommy his name.
Callous.
You've got the two of them knowing the drill of how to deal with puzzles and so easily working together now, with Ellie being more active in her desire to help you.
There it is.
You got this wonderful moment with the monkeys and Ellie seeing them for the first time.
Are those monkeys?
Yeah, a whole mess of them.
That was kind of awesome.
First time seeing a monkey?
First time seeing a monkey.
And Joel revealing his childhood want to be a singer.
Well, when I was a kid, I used to want to be, a singer.
Shut up.
No, serious.
Sing something.
No.
Come on, I won't laugh.
I don't think so.
Joel, please.
All of these little things continue to bring us closer to these people, closer to Joel and Ellie, and allow us to enjoy just riding through an old abandoned university, listening to these people grow a bond. It's relatable and it's wholesome. Of course, however, wholesome doesn't last forever. There's stealthing through an infected area to be done, a well-structured segment with plenty of tools and things to pick up, with just the right patrol patterns to make things tense but also rewarding as hell, being able to navigate these rooms and take down these horrid things. Moving on, it seems as though there are no fireflies. Hoping still to find someone, the two venture into the university, and we climb stairs, explore rooms, and there's nobody to be found. Nobody except for a few monkeys. The fireflies were clearly here, but they packed up and left. But why, and where to?
Looking for the others. They've all returned to St. Mary's Hospital in Salt Lake City. You'll find them there, still trying to save the world. Good luck with that.
Do you know where that is?
I know the city.
Is it far?
It ain't close. I mean, on horseback.
What? The fireflies?
Get down!
Oh!
Under attack, and with our new goal, St. Mary's Hospital in Salt Lake City, we have to escape, and this escape puts us into one of the most intense and hostile chase sequences in the game. Joel is thrown from a balcony, landing on a metal rod sticking from the ground below, piercing him all the way through. Defending Ellie, she has to pull Joel off of the rod in a gruesome and painful moment in which Joel is badly damaged, but determined to get out safely. The two fight for their lives, trying to escape the university and return to the horse. Joel is bleeding out very quickly and can barely walk. There are moments like a guy with a shotgun firing on Joel from behind a desk and quickly having to aim and shoot him before he kills Ellie. Another moment by the door, Ellie has to take down two guys as Joel falls to the floor, and then yep, I'm sure that's not meant to happen. This whole segment is action-packed, it's tense, and it's uncertain as to whether Joel is going to survive. From the animations to the sound effects and music, you somewhat feel the pain Joel is feeling, and it's tough to try and escape. And as they're on the horse, heading away, safe from harm, Joel succumbs to his injuries and falls from the horse, passing out.
Oh, get up, get up, get up. You gotta tell me what to do. Come on, you gotta get up. Joel?
The beginning of winter places Ellie alone, hunting in the snow. It leaves Joel's fate ambiguous at first. Ellie is clearly a lot more capable, and a decent amount of time has clearly passed. It begins quite calming, tracking a deer through the snow-covered woods, the new environment and weather looking really nice and refreshing once again. Quickly, she is met with two men, David and James.
Who's there? Come out!
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Scares here.
Hello? We just want to talk.
Any sudden moves and I put one right between your eyes. Ditto for buddy boy over there. What do you want?
Name's David. This here's my friend James. We're from a larger group. Women, children. We're all very, very hungry.
So am I. Women and children, all very hungry too.
Well, maybe we could, trade you for some of that meat there. What do you need? Weapons? Ammo? Clothes?
Medicine!
These men appear not to be trustworthy. Whether it's the voice work of Nolan North or just the fact that we've been in this world for so long we've learned, like the characters, not to trust anyone. I'm not so sure, but David comes across as very strange. That being said, after a really long set piece where we hold off the infected from inside of a building, which honestly does go on for a bit, David feels a lot more like a friend. He helped us, we helped him, and we and Ellie feel more settled with him. Until he reveals what he knows about us.
A few weeks back, I sent a group of men out to a nearby town to look for food. Only a few came back. They said that the others had been slaughtered by a crazy man. And get this, he's a crazy man traveling with a little girl. You see, everything happens for a reason.
This immediately creates a sense of tension. We know that his guys were the ones at the university. Ellie is here alone with two men that could wish to do her harm. It's almost like holding your breath as David allows you to have the medicine and leave unharmed. Ellie runs off back to Callus the horse to take the penicillin to Joel. Finally seeing Joel again after all of this time with Ellie alone is comforting. You feel like everything's going to be okay despite his awful state. Joel relying on Ellie is a new take on their dynamic, and it really takes Ellie stepping up and growing as a fighter to be able to provide and help him recover. She administers the drug and tucks him in. The air is cold, as you can see from their breath and the snow outside, and they settle in to sleep through the night. The vibe here feels hopeless yet hopeful. Having Joel and Ellie together like this always fills the player with comfort that they'll be okay despite the situation feeling utterly dire. We're quickly, however, thrust into a chase sequence when Ellie wakes. Men have tracked her, David's men. Ellie leaves Joel alone to lure the men away and keep him safe. Their dynamic has truly shifted and also allows for moving forward both of them to be much more of an even playing field. Like I said before, Joel needs Ellie just as much as she needs him, and that goes for both emotionally and physically for protection. The horse chase is tense, avoiding gunfire and men attacking. We have to race through the snow to try and lure the men away from where Joel is. After travelling a certain length, the horse is shot and killed, sending Ellie flying down a cliff. The horse death was sad, but had they built up the relationship with it a bit more, it definitely could have been sadder. I know that sounds like a nitpick, but after some of the stuff in Red Dead Redemption 2, it's tough to feel the same way about Callus. From chase sequence to stealth sequence, the game switches gears and has us try our best to sneak back around to Joel without them seeing us, that way being safe and losing their trail. This is quite a long and complex sequence with a few interiors and exteriors and lots of men looking for us. Using our bow and other weapons, we're able to sneak around, only alerting people a few times because I absolutely suck, as we've established. As we think we're about to escape, however, we're grabbed by David himself and choked to the ground. We then get to see some more of David following this. For a start, learning his group are a group of cannibals, making them seem even more terrifying and dangerous. On top of that, the way he talks to Ellie and others refer to her as David's newest pet, along with the way he touches her hand here, which she quickly uses to try and steal his keys.
And you're special.
Oh.
Make me feel David might not just be a creepy cannibal, but also a creepy pedophile cannibal. I think that's been left up in the air for a while, but to me this scene always seemed like he wanted his community to use Ellie sexually. I could be wrong, but I get those vibes and it makes my skin crawl just thinking about it. Just another reason why what comes next is so very satisfying and compelling. Joel awakes not entirely recovered, but much better than he was before. We gather some equipment, we head out into the snow calling for Ellie. Of course, things can't be calm for long, we're ambushed, fighting our way towards the men, demanding answers about Ellie. Again, the gunplay here is satisfying as it always is. There's something enjoyable about playing as this enraged Joel who's just mowing down all these men to find Ellie. Finally, we're attacked by the last two guys who Joel makes effortlessly quick work of, and what ensues is somewhat of a turning point for Joel's character. We've heard previously that he's done bad things. He's even mentioned to Ellie, sort of, that he's killed innocent people. He said to Tess a few times that they're not good people And we get to see that, but not just that, we get to see Joel as the anti-hero that he is, when he has something to live for. Previously, Joel was fighting for himself, he was cold, he had his emotions sealed off, but now we see a Joel who cares deeply for this little girl, and he'll do anything to get her back. He has a reason to fight, a reason he's not had in a long time, and that makes him more deadly and aggressive than ever.
Fuck! Focus right here, right here. I'll pop your goddamn knee off. The girl.
She's alive. She's David's newest pet.
Where?
In the town. In the town.
Now you're gonna mark it on the map. And it better be the same exact spot your buddy points to. Mark it.
It's right there. You can verify it. Go ask him. Go on. I tell you, I ain't lying. I ain't.
Seeing this is satisfying for the player, knowing what Ellie has gone through and where she is now. These cunts deserve it, but it also shows a side to Joel that we've not seen before, a side that's dark and in some ways evil. These were bad men, for sure, but it shows his lack of hesitation, even his pleasure in doing these things, and that comes back later on in the final chapter. Joel with a reason to push on, with a reason to live, is dangerous.
I ain't telling you shit.
That's all right. I believe him.
No, wait!
Wakey, wakey.
Ellie is prepped to be cut up and eaten. I guess they were going to do that while she was alive, but her method of escape from this is very clever and is another way to show her growth as a person throughout all of this. She started out as someone who was capable, or willing to be, but with little experience. But now she has plenty of experience and is very, very capable.
I'm infected!
Really?
So are you. Right there. Roll up my sleeve. Look at it!
I'll play along.
What'd you say? Everything happens for a reason, right?
What the hell is that? She would have turned by now. It can't be real.
Looks pretty fucking real to me.
We now have a large segment of stealth in this wintry blizzard, allowing for easier cover through a very large environment. Quite an active and unique take on a stealth scenario. Using all of the skills we've learned, we're able to move by everyone, taking out men here and there, and escaping into a nearby restaurant. Now, this is where the climax of the chapter plays out. However, here, my game had a bit of a seizure, and... Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Regardless, you're pushed into a cat and mouse chase with David inside of a burning building. You have to stealth your way behind him to deal damage and then scurry off to hide and do the same. Each time he becomes more wary and quicker to find you using new tactics and making it tougher for Ellie to get the jump on him. Finally, you deliver the final blow and it leaves Ellie and David both on the ground in pain. Switching back to Joel, he's close on her trail, taking out guys and wandering through the snow to find Ellie. Joel has a mad rampage, just running through the streets, gunning people down. It's truly satisfying and incredible to play as you make your way to the burning building where Ellie is.
Shh. Ellie.
Switching back again, we're on our last legs. David's pushing Ellie. She's absolutely terrified and traumatized, reaching for the machete. David puts his hands around her neck and begins to strangle her, which gives Ellie just enough time to grab the weapon and pour all of her anger and all of her trauma into the swing. You can feel the anger and sadness she feels as she hacks away at this monster of a man. And as Joel comes to her rescue, we get this beautiful scene and the culmination of their development.
Look. It's me.
He tried to...
Oh, baby girl. It's okay. It's okay.
Joel.
Joel takes Ellie in his arms as she's crying and panicking after everything she's just been through, enough to test even the strongest of people, and he uses the same words he used with his own daughter. Joel referring to Ellie as baby girl is their arcs coming to a close. Their bond is complete and they are effectively father and daughter. That moment is Joel letting Ellie in for good and her finally finding a place to call home.
It's okay.
Ellie!
Did you hear me?
No. What?
Look. Hospital. This is where we get off. Let's go, kiddo.
Ellie is distant from Joel at the beginning of this chapter. After everything she's been through, after everything we've seen, Ellie has truly lost a lot of the innocence she began the game with. She's quiet, she's distracted, she clearly can't stop thinking about what happened with David, but I feel like she's also worried about what will happen when they reach the Fireflies. We get some nice moments here too, with Joel now being content that they're family, the same way him and Sarah were family.
Yeah, once we're done with this whole thing, I'm gonna teach you how to play guitar. Yeah, I reckon you'd really like that. What do you say, huh? Ellie, I'm talking to you.
Huh? Oh. Yeah, sure, that sounds great.
We also get a nice representation of Ellie's mental state when she mentions her dream about a plane.
I dreamt about flying the other night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Go on, tell me about it.
So, I'm on this big plane full of people, and everyone is screaming and yelling because the plane's going down. So I walk to the cockpit, open the door, but there's no pilot. I try to use the controls, but I obviously have no clue how to fly a plane. And right before we crash, I wake up. I've never been on a plane. Isn't that weird?
Well, you know, dreams are weird.
Clearly showing us that Ellie is troubled and feels like she's not in control of her own life, but neither is anyone else. But on top of that, it's a foreshadowing of what's to come. Being on a plane, not knowing how to fly, and then waking up just before she dies is likely a metaphor for a situation moving forward, being in water, not knowing how to swim, and before she dies, she wakes up in the back of Joel's car. Parallels and foreshadowing, it's nice. We now have our next goal while here in Salt Lake City, St. Mary's Hospital. It feels like a reassurance that we're on the right track and that things are back to how they were prior to the incident in the winter chapter, having somewhere that we can see and we need to reach, making our way there. Simpler again. The home stretch. Ellie continues to be distant from Joel. Her activeness in helping you navigate is lesser, and she seems incredibly troubled, something that she never really overcomes. I do wonder if this affects the way she is in the sequel. We've seen from demos and things she seems a lot more shy and closed off, but that can also come from your teenage years too. However, following all of this, we do get a glimmer of hope that Ellie is okay and the girl we knew from the start is still in there, despite all the trouble that she's had. Following Ellie through the broken down building, we finally reach an opening where there are a family of giraffes thriving and living in the city, obviously broken out of the nearby zoo. Ellie is delighted and beaming at seeing these creatures, and it's just so amazing to watch.
What are you doing?
It's all right. Come here. Hurry up. Come on.
Hey there. So fucking cool. Oh, where's it off to?
Finally reaching the edge of the roof and looking out over the city, we see the giraffes walking into the distance. Joel and Ellie share one final moment of joy before they continue on their journey to the hospital.
So, is this everything you were hoping for?
It's got its ups and downs, but Can't deny the view, though.
This is also a direct callback to the beginning of the game, where they're standing on the edge, looking at the sunrise, looking over at the Capitol building. This rounds off their journey from the beginning, where they barely knew each other, to now, where they're closer than ever. Joel also takes time here to reflect on their time together and remind Ellie that she doesn't have to go through with this. She can stop and they can go back to Tommy's. They can live and be happy for all the time they have left and be a family. In Joel's mind, that's his ideal. He just wants that emotional stability, and he's found it in Ellie.
We don't have to do this. You know that, right?
What's the other option?
Go back to Tommy's. Just be done with this whole damn thing.
After all we've been through. Everything that I've done. It can't be for nothing.
Of course though, Ellie needs to see this through and needs to do what's right, what they set out to do. Of course, not knowing the consequences of that at the time. We get a nice conclusion to Joel's emotions on Sarah and where he's at with her in his head now after all of this. It seems he's come to terms with his loss and managed to move on and accept it rather than running. He's able to open up and talk to Ellie about her and his experience.
This place takes me back.
How so?
That was right after everything went down. I ended up in a triage just like this. And everywhere you looked, you just saw families torn apart. The whole damn world seemed to have turned upside down in a blink.
Is that after you lost Sarah?
Yes, it was.
I can't imagine losing someone you love like that. Losing everything that you know. I'm sorry, Joel.
That's okay, Ellie.
And they follow that up with Ellie giving Joel the photo that he thought he'd left at Tommy's. This time he accepts it as he's changed. He knows that he can't outrun his past, and that he needs to live with it and take it with him. Remember Sarah, but not dwell in pointless guilt. And Joel is in an entirely different position to where we saw him at the start of the game. We then head into a tunnel in which we have to navigate as best we can. There are infected crawling all over this place, and we have a lot of options for how to deal with them. This is possibly one of the more complex and overwhelming encounters in the game, and it makes sense given that it's very close to the end. Moving through the tunnel, we have to take down the infected and sneak by to continue onto a clearer space with more room to breathe. We complete one final water puzzle using a pallet and finally make our way across to Ellie to continue to the hospital. But quickly the water becomes turbulent and we have to gently make our way across these platforms without falling into the water and dying a horrible death. Of course, one wrong move sends all the debris sailing downstream violently with Joel caught in the middle of it. We find ourselves in a pretty tense scene in which Joel has to climb out of a bus that's slowly filling with water. It's just a quick time event essentially, but there's so much weight to it. This deep in the game, anything could happen and it wouldn't be crazy, and so you feel this sense of desperation for the characters. Ellie jumps back down and subsequently is thrown to the water, and of course, Ellie can't swim. We swim after her, grabbing her lifeless body and carrying her to dry land. Ellie isn't breathing, and Joel tries his best to bring her back and get her breathing again. While doing this, he's approached by a man holding a gun to him. This scene is very, very similar to the way that he lost Sarah, not being in control with someone threatening him while he tries to save his daughter. However, you can see this time Joel refuses to simply comply, and he won't let this happen again before he's knocked unconscious.
She's not breathing.
Hands in the fucking air!
Come on.
Welcome to the Fireflies.
Next thing we know, Joel is awake in the hospital. Ellie, we find out, is safe, and everything feels right.
Take me to her.
You don't have to worry about her anymore. We'll take care of her.
I worry. Just let me see her, please.
You can't. She's being prepped for surgery.
The hell do you mean, surgery?
The doctors tell me the cordyceps, the growth inside her, has somehow mutated. It's why she's immune. Once they remove it, they'll be able to reverse engineer a vaccine. A vaccine.
But it grows all over the brain.
It does.
Find someone else.
There is no one else.
Listen, you were gonna show me where...
Stop.
Finding out the truth, Joel is furious, and as the player, we are too. The fact that we were never told what would happen, and we've become so close to these characters now, how can this be the outcome? The moment I love is when Joel is being escorted out, feeling defeated, and he sees Ellie's backpack, that little backpack, and it's almost like he loses control. Joel's instincts have always driven him, but where before they were instincts to close himself off and keep his emotions safe, his instincts are now fueled by emotion and the love that he has for Ellie.
I said keep walking.
Where's the operating room? I ain't got time for this. Where? Top floor, the far end.
We get to see this darker side of Joel that we saw during the Winter chapter come alive here and drive him to save her. Now we have to fight our way through the hospital and find Ellie's operating room to get her out. The level design here is incredible. The enemy placements are done in such a way that progression feels earned and rewarding at the same time. Along with how the rooms are placed, with cover being in just the right places to make stealth feel fun, whilst also having gunplay do the same. The layout of the hospital section is so well put together that playing through it feels remarkable and gives you this sense of freedom and control that not a lot of games do. If you mess up, you know it was your fault, it was never the game. And my god, this corridor was an absolute bitch. You don't even know how many times I tried this and failed. It's mostly because it's meant to be hard, but also because I had no equipment. I'd used all of it, and so I was stuck with barely any ammo. I'm surprised I managed to make it through, to be quite honest with you. Finally, however, I reached the end corridor and found Ellie, and we get to see Joel's rage and dark side against unarmed and innocent people. Granted, I shot 2 people, I didn't have to, but I was running on fucking adrenaline and I wanted some goddamn revenge.
Come on, baby girl. I got you. I got you. Oh, shit.
And with Ellie in our arms, we take her and run through this hospital and to safety. Upon reaching the parking lot, we're greeted with a final choice. One final choice for Joel. Marlene offers him a chance to do the right thing, to leave Ellie and allow them to find a cure. Now there's a big debate over what is the right choice. Is it ethically right to kill a 14-year-old girl in the hopes of maybe developing a cure? No, it's not. But is it the overall right choice to make? Maybe. Maybe it is. Maybe Joel should have swallowed his feelings and left Ellie, but that's not Joel. That's not who he is. The choice here is a reflection of humanity and what's important. At least I've always seen it this way. A lot of people ask, why wasn't there an actual choice? Why couldn't the player choose? And for one, obviously it's a story-driven game. Neil Druckmann had a story to tell and this is it. But narratively, this is the only choice. The story is about humanity on its last legs, about the difference between humans and the infected humans, about the lines that are blurred when society collapses, and about who we are as individuals when faced with decisions about our own humanity. Joel chooses to condemn the human race, but he saves who is now his daughter. It's the most human decision he could make. In a world where people are killing each other, in a world where people are eating each other, people are living in ruin and have abandoned humanity altogether. If Joel left Ellie, then they may regain society, but at the cost of morality. And so Joel's choice, although made out of and fueled by his own emotions, is the most human choice someone could make. He couldn't sacrifice somebody he cared about, and as long as he feels that and other humans feel that, humanity can find a way. But the alternative, sacrificing people without even giving them a choice, it might save the world, but they'll lose themselves along the way, and that's the conclusion I've always drawn as to why Joel chooses to kill Marlene and save Ellie.
What the hell am I wearing?
Just take it easy. Drugs are still wearing off.
What happened?
We found the fireflies. Turns out there's a whole lot more like you, Ellie. People that are immune. There's dozens, actually. Ain't done them a damn bit of good, neither. They've stopped looking for a cure. I'm taking us home. I'm sorry.
Wait! Let me go. Please.
You just come after her.
Looks like we're walking.
Finally arriving back at Jackson, we take control of Ellie. We venture onward with Joel. Joel tells anecdotes about his daughter and expresses his love for wanting to do things with Ellie.
Sarah and I used to take hikes like this. I think the two of you would have been good friends. I think you really would have liked her. I know she'd have liked you.
I bet I would have.
But Ellie is distant, partly because of her experiences, but also because of what Joel told her. She's been thinking it over, and it's clear she doesn't believe what he said. She wants to feel happy, she wants to feel at home, but she knows deep down that Joel has lied to her. Which is why this final scene hits so hard. Ellie opens up about how she feels, about what's bothering her, and asks Joel a question. And it's not a question she wants the answer to because she already knows the answer. She asks Joel because she wants to know if he'll lie to her again. When she asked him to swear what he told her about the Fireflies is true. Joel only wants family. He only wants Ellie, and he felt he was doing the right thing to not lose another daughter again. But Ellie didn't have a say. And coming back to her dream about the plane, she has no control. And that bothers her. And that's why the final line of dialogue in The Last of Us hits you so hard. The way it cuts to black and leaves us in the dark, because she's not saying, okay, I trust you. After everything they've been through, she's saying, okay, I have to trust you, because otherwise, she's alone.
Swear to me that everything that you said about the Fireflies is true.
I swear.
The Last of Us is a game people won't soon forget, likely won't ever forget. It's a story about people, about choices and heartbreak and loss and survival and humanity. The writing is exquisite and the characters are some of the most relatable and beloved in all of media. Every time I play The Last of Us, I feel so much, and it's the simple things that trigger these emotions. The game is so convincing and so human. We are so close now to the launch of the sequel, and I cannot wait to jump in and revisit these characters and this world. Playing this again was such a joy, and I am blown away every time by just how much detail Naughty Dog put into a game that is now 7 years old. Thank you, Naughty Dog, for the experience, and thank you for watching. Thanks guys so much for watching. It feels good to be putting something out again, and hopefully you enjoyed watching this as much as I enjoyed making it. I'll be playing The Last of Us 2, and of course I'll make a video analysing that and reviewing it, or whatever you want to call it, when I'm done and I have my thoughts collected. I appreciate all of your support whilst I've been in this break. I hope you're all doing well. I'll see you all soon, and hopefully I'll be back in full swing sometime soon. Thanks a lot guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.